Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new podcast of Top Marketing Superstars. Today's guest is Matthieu Dejardins. He's the CEO of NextUser with over 15 years experience in e-commerce, technology, and marketing. He's worked in 5 different countries for Fortune 500 companies and have a lot of experience in high-tech SMBs and startups. Matthieu traveled from France to San Francisco, and along the way had an amazing journey, meeting some amazing entrepreneurs like Richard Branson, and he recently settled in New York City to sell his ad tech product to big brands. Matthieu, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice meeting you guys. And Richard, thanks for taking the time to receive me today.
Absolutely. So Matthieu, tell us a little bit about NextUser. What do you guys do?
So basically what we give is the same capabilities as Amazon in terms of data, Amazon.com, and we give it to any brands, retailer, e-commerce website. Basically, we in input, we collect data. We aggregate data into what we call user profile. And then we use this user profile to trigger marketing personalization. So think about it like in a retail environment, we have the capability when you expect a shopping assistant to help you, we do exactly the same online.
Okay, perfect. So what is your business model?
So we are a platform in software as a service, and what we sell to our client is a subscription.
Okay, so they pay you and they just use it on a monthly basis. Now,
Exactly.
is this usually, do you usually lock the contract on a yearly basis? Is it month to month? How do you guys work with your brands?
So what we do is we do a pilot of 6 months, basically, and the goal of the pilot is to validate the contribution of what we are selling. Every time we do an A/B test without NextUser, with NextUser, and what we want to prove at the end of the pilot is like for $1 they invested in the solution, they get $5 to $32 in terms of return on investment. And
Okay.
then after the pilot, we increase basically more marketing channel, more countries, artificial intelligence, and many more.
Interesting. And I know this area as far as AI and doing predictive modeling and things like this is not something you're going to get a return on overnight, right? You need to build out a data set over a course of month and month. So I totally understand kind of getting a pilot for 6 months and working your way through. So you technically have to have some sort of a contract, long-term contract, to be able to work with these companies, right?
Exactly. And basically, we make them pay during the pilot. And what we want to do after, like at the end of the pilot, is to increase basically what we are charging by them by 2 to 3, 4 times more on the long term, like 12 to 16 months later, where we can basically increase what we charge. So it's like acquiring new clients, basically. We focus, this is why we focus on not too much clients, but the ones that we can scale with, because they have an international presence, they have different type of marketing channels that we can increase, and also they have a lot of predictive and AI needs.
Perfect. Now, do you mainly work with big brands? I'm assuming this is not a small business or small startup solution?
No, we started with when we were like doing the MVP with 3 startups, but we were spending as much time to help them understand the marketing than to use our platform, which was a bit problematic. Then after, what we did is we moved to a more SMB market. But as you described, 4.5 years ago, we were selected by IBM Watson to show the future of artificial intelligence to Sir Richard Branson. So immediately after, we worked with Nestle, Purina in the US, in St. Louis, Missouri. And the following year, we won the Unilever Startup Battle in Asia. And then after, we were working mostly with large corporate accounts. At the beginning, I was not aware that such solution was required, but it built up over time, and basically our focused shift from SMB to large corporate account.
Makes sense. They definitely can afford an innovation product like this, and
Yes.
they probably see the dimension of having that data set that you provide. Now let's jump a little bit into your kind of sales and marketing strategy. How did you acquire your first customers?
So it was very interesting. As I mentioned, so I will not count them. Basically, the first one was really like a startups, but they were not paying. So the first paying client was working with me in a previous company. So he was VP of product at art.com, and he became basically GM of book websites similar to Amazon, but with independent reseller. 15,000 of them. They have 7 million SKUs. It's called alibris.com. It's basically they are localized in Emeryville in California. And as we worked a lot, I was responsible for all the testing optimization. We had a trust back at art.com, and he became GM, and I helped him with conversion and acquisition of clients. So this is how my first client was acquired.
That's great, and I see this trend a lot with companies who are actually we're working for they have an existing job or career, and they're switching over to startups. They just try to kind of bring as much expertise as possible towards early adopters phase, right? So that's sort of what you did. Now, as far as working with the big brands, what would you say was the winning strategy for you, kind of jumping in and getting your first brand on board? Was there some sort of a trick or technique that you've done?
No, it's just getting like big brands was for us just to get PR. Then basically we've got selected by at the time being by a company called Evolution. They have another name called Startup for Brands, and they help us to pitch a big company with innovation team, CRM team, and it worked very well. And this is how we secured them. The second one was Unilever Startup Battle, so it worked as well. Pretty well. Again, an event focused on innovation, and basically we won after like 3 different projects with them.
So awesome. So you kind of used some brands initially, and you were able to engage with these brands in the early stages. You got those nice logos on your site as early adopters, and that kind of made the product more attractive for other brands to come and tag along.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's great strategy. That's building these early case studies is critical in the startup world. Now, what would you say is your current winning lead gen channel for the company?
For us, it's really like the partner network. So in the past, we didn't have really like partners, but we start really working with Accenture for a French government electricity company. Ernst & Young, we work with them with a bank in Europe, and also an insurance company. In the US, we work also with BCG, Boston Consulting Group. So all these leads, they were not happening, I would say 1 year and a half ago. But now we are recognized, we have really use cases in different type of industry. It's very, they help us a lot actually to get, and as we have 60 integrations with different type of partners, so it could be CRM, big data, like Adobe, Oracle, Bluekai, Salesforce, Crooks. We have, every time we play the interpolarity, the connection to this, and it's really helping us.
That's great. And I mean, partner channels for a company like you is probably at the early stages make sense, because you don't have a lot of money to invest in long-term sales strategy and sales team. So you leverage partners who sometimes take a little bit of time to kind of build up, but eventually once they establish that trust, maybe they'll use you with one client of theirs, you establish that kind of bond where they feel more comfortable referring new business to you. So although it might take a year or even 2 years in some cases, eventually it pays back if you're consistent with your channel partner, would you say?
Yes. And there is a second advantage as well, is that I'm focusing on developing a platform. They focused on owning the client. And I don't want to spend too much time with the client, explaining them stuff, organizing brainstorming. They are responsible of their innovation roadmap globally. So I'm just delivering on it.
Okay, makes sense. And this happens to a lot of martech companies, where if you kind of open up the door into kind of getting yourself into the client's strategy and speaking with the team, you might get sucked in a little bit into kind of helping them with the strategy, executing on the strategy. Even if you're just a technology provider, there's usually a fine line. So you don't want to jump from being a software provider into a service provider, which is something that sometimes happens.
IBM.
In this case. Sure, sure. What is the average price tag for your the monthly license with you?
So it's really depending on three factors. First one is the number of data we collect. Second one is the number of marketing application we have integration with for them. And the third one is, as I explained, we do a pilot. So we deploy all the initiatives that we have launching for them. So it's basically from a couple thousand of dollars up to $10,000 for a pilot if we have a very big audience around 15, 20, 25 million unique visitors per month, and it's a big corporation.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about some quick questions here. As far as your channels, have you tested anything with paid acquisition, like ads on Facebook or Google or anything like?
Absolutely. So we have online advertising. We use GDN, Google Network Display Network. We use Facebook, but mostly in retargeting. As I mentioned, we have this partner network. We have innovation event or partners that are identified like as basically helping us to open some doors. Industry association, chamber of commerce, alumni network. I also have a network with founder institutes. Yes, partner events.
Okay, so these are not really part of your paid channels. It's more like identifying events.
Paid, we have like retargeting. We are expanding it a bit like in display. Not yet doing Google AdWords, too expensive. LinkedIn is a bit expensive as well per click. So for now, we will do that mostly in September. What we are doing now is revamping the site, developing white paper. So after we can come back again, be back to the acquisition, top of the funnel.
Okay. So technically speaking, because your product is really niche and requires some sort of a kind of initial relationship and some early stage beta testing, paid channels might not be the best channel for you at this stage, perhaps in the future, right?
Yeah, or some industry term where we are recognized could work, but it's not really like it's mostly like for B2C where it's useful. For me, what I could do is potentially sponsor some stuff on SlideShare, which was purchased by LinkedIn. So it's less transactional. It's more like a long-term sale. So we can generate interest, but we need like good vehicles, which is white paper, case studies, etc.
Absolutely, because the sales cycle, how long is your sales cycle typically from the first touch point to the moment you close, approximately?
Good question. It's between like I would say 4 to, so if they are in e-commerce retail, we have a clear ROI. It's 4 to 6 months. If they are a bank, government company, or a CPG where they cannot really, we can improve the performance, but engagement, opt-ins, etc. But they don't sell directly online. It's slightly bigger. I would say it's 6 to 12 months. I would say 9 months in average.
Okay, so the awareness stage is probably 1/4 to 2 quarters, and some in the small, the first segment and the second segment, like the banks and such, it's probably upwards to 3 quarters. So that's a lot of awareness and content that they need to consume to understand the product and so on. So that's interesting. Have you tried influencer marketing?
Actually, what we do is we have a series of 4 or 5 meetings with them. So we propose a Google Analytics study. The way we do it is we do it for free. We connect to Google Analytics. So we sign an NDA, so it's a bit engaging. And then we highlight 20 initiatives that they can do. So this is fast generally. But after, it's just a question of getting like with purchasing. Sometimes it's not prioritized because they have roadmap by the quarter. So sometimes this is more after the analytics studies that it takes a bit some time to start in. Or like government companies, it's like getting the IT approval and so on, like they doing the due diligence. It's pretty complex. But when you're in for 4 or 5 years. So
sure, that's great.
That's great.
That's great. Now, any inbound sales channels, just cold outreach? Have you done that?
Yeah, I did it 3 or 4 years ago. It's a lot of efforts and it's not very good for us. What I do is warm introduction. So meaning I use the network
LinkedIn.
of peers and I ask them introduction for innovation of some companies, CRM, so which is my persona, and it's working way more, meaning like I have 60-70% of success rate, while cold outreach will be 2 to 5, and I need to compile a lot of lists to get like the same level. So we actually do it with a warm introduction, and it's working a lot, way better.
So technically, you're investing your efforts in going after the potential warm introductions, which are a lot less, so quality versus going cold calling a large set of lists, which is quantity. So quality over quantity, definitely worth the investment. Would you say your LinkedIn is a good channel for you for lead gen?
Yes, we do a lot of blog posts, thematics. We have a post also which is synchronized by Zapier whenever we post something on social media. It's just a reminder we are here. And regularly, when I have posts, I have 2-3 people that remember I was here, and they contact me and saying, "Hi, how are you?" Na na na. So it's just yes, it's a very good channel for me.
Perfect. Last question. What do you think is AI today? Is AI overhyped? And recommendations for a company who's going to start marketing tech, specializing or having an AI angle. What do you recommend?
Whoa. So AI is, well, everyone is saying they have AI, so it's a bit complicated. And when you go into the details, it's a bit it's not very precise. For us, what we do is the same philosophy than we do with marketing and data, is we take existing engines, so existing API. Sometimes we created our own solution, and basically we productize it and we make it like available with something else. So example, we can analyze Instagram pictures, but we can also understand sentiment and keyword analysis coming from Twitter, Facebook, or any other channel. And on top of this, we can infer the personality of someone. So this is typically like 3 products in one. One product is coming from Google Cloud, another is coming from IBM, and another one was created by us. So it's a mix. For starting in AI, what you need to do is to start with a very specific problematic. You have a lot in terms of industry, manufacturing. So really think about a specific vertical, and after you can still enlarge your product and what you delivered from one specific use case. Because like now there is all the guys that did broad AI, it's a bit complex for them to sell. One of the example is IBM Watson. They bet a lot in AI, and I'm not sure they are very successful. For Amazon, they are doing pretty well. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy sell. It needs to have an integration channel.
It has to work. It has to produce results.
Yes.
So yeah, this was great. So here you go, guys. We have Matthieu Dejardins from NextUser. Matthieu is actually depending mainly on his partner channels to generate his leads, warm introductions versus just mass introductions. His paid acquisition on paid ads haven't really worked out well. It's too early for him. He built his foundation based on this early adopters of startups from his network, as well as some brands adopting the technology internally. And so far, he's grown the company. How many people you are today?
32.
32 people, and the team between the US, San Francisco, New York, and France. And the product is amazing. If you guys want to just check out the website, nextuser.com, and I'll put in a link also in the transcription of this video. Matthieu, thank you so much.
Thank you.